Let's make a cobbler using your sourdough discard. Now this is a strawberry cobbler, but you can use any kind of fruit with this. And right now I'm making the beginning stages of this cobbler. I'm taking 3/4 of a cup of all-purpose organic flour. I like to use the Costco Kirkland all-purpose flour, and then I'm doing 3/4 of a cup of milk, whole milk, organic of course, and then 1/4 cup of my sourdough starter. Now, I typically give directions using measurements on a digital scale, but this particular recipe called for your traditional measurements, and I'll see if I can get you the gram measurements for those of you that love your digital scale. So I'm just stirring all of that together right inside the mason jar, and it's going to sit this way on my counter overnight. This step is not totally necessary, but I prefer the longer fermentation times because it's healthier for your gut. Now the next morning I'm taking my cast iron skillet and I'm putting a whole stick of organic butter in it and putting it in the oven to melt. We went to the Strawberry Festival last weekend. That's when I recorded this video, and they had some of the most beautiful berries you've ever seen. I brought them home and I washed them in my Thieves Fruit and Veggie Soak to get all of those chemicals and pesticides, herbicides, the things that the farmers use on their crops that are not organically raised, and it'll also get the bugs off. And so now I am quartering all of the strawberries, and these are going to go in the cobbler. I will say I've made this again since I recorded the video, and I used peaches, and it was equally as yummy. So now the full stick of butter has melted, and I'm going to take the starter I made the night before, and I'm going to add 3/4 of a cup of sugar, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of baking powder. Now that's the baking powder without the aluminum added to it, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And I'm gonna mix that right inside that jar and get it mixed together so there's no dry ingredients. And this will rise very quickly. While I was making the third layer, which I will tell you about, this rose up into the jar. It was quite active due to that sourdough starter. So the third layer is 1/2 stick of cream cheese, so 4 ounces, 1 egg yolk, and 1/4 cup of sugar with 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. And we're just gonna mix this together, and it's gonna form a cream cheese batter, and it's gonna be the last thing that we put into this cobbler. So this is a strawberry cream cheese cobbler. It is so good. And we paired this with vanilla ice cream, and it was so good. So now the first step is to pour that batter right on top of the butter. Scrape out your jar. Get as much of that out as you can. This makes a fantastic cake-like consistency. Now we're going to arrange the strawberries right on top of the batter, and then we're going to dollop the cream cheese mixture on top of the strawberries. This is going to go into a 350-degree oven for 30 to 40 minutes. Now I'm adding the cream cheese mixture right on top of the strawberries. You don't have to stir this or anything. It's just going to bake up beautifully. So this is going to look a little bit brown when it comes out, but we went, I believe, the full 40 minutes. Look at that. Oh my gosh, it was so good. And of course we put the vanilla ice cream with it and served it after dinner. We had some guests in from out of town, and they were raving about this recipe. I hope you do give it a try, especially with it being strawberry season.